of people who love Scotch will say about Irish whiskey is like, Scotch is better because, yours is so rubbish, you have to distill it a whole nother time to try and make it drinkable.
Right.
And I think they've clocked onto that, and I can't see it written anywhere, but I Googled it, and they are still triple distilled. So it's basically they run it through the still one more time. Nice. And so in theory, you get a cleaner spirit. But the argument against it is you take out any of the sort of proteins that would still be there after two runs through, and so there's some flavour there that you're sort of killing. So you might make it a smoother drinking experience, but you've taken away flavour.
Okay,
is the argument. And I don't know whether that's true, to be honest, because I've tasted it quite a lot over the last sort of couple of weeks, and the first pouring I had was pretty harsh and pretty jarring. Actually, I was not keen on it at all. It's only 40% as well, so you don't expect it to be really bitey and really spicy, but it was. And then I poured myself a second dram just to give it a try, and I let it sit for about 10 minutes in the glass, and after that it was so nice. And it's actually got a lot of the flavour that I had in that Few whiskey, which is funny enough not as strong, but that sort of like hay /
hamster cage.
Hamster cage smell. Exactly. So it's got some of that, not as strong, and then it's still got some of the sort of classic Scotch, like sherry notes as well with there. It's a lot sweeter than that Few whiskey, but with a little bit of that sort of funky hamster cage vibe, and I'm really enjoying it. It's just you've got to let it sit
nice.
in the glass, or maybe put a little bit of water in just to let it chill out for a bit. But yeah, Okitoshin 12-year-old, definitely recommend it. They don't do the age statement very often. Most of the time it's like a special bottling, like they've got like a wine aged one. I think it's like a white wine aged one, and they've got like an American oak one and stuff, and they don't have ages on them. But this one is just their standard 12-year-old. And it's good. Check it out. It's good.
Nice. Yeah, I've never had a bottle, but I've had the odd dram here and there in bars and stuff, and I've always liked it. I don't know if you're the same, but Lowlands whiskey is a kind of a gap in my knowledge or experience.
Massive,
I guess
yeah.
It's just
Same
a different
here.
place, isn't it? So yeah, I've not had very many at all. That is one of them, though. I've not had one recently, so yeah, that's a good shout. Actually, I'll have to nip out and see if I can get a bottle.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, good stuff. I'm glad it's going down well, and that sort of hamster cage, for want of a better phrase, flavour is like I love it. It's just so interesting.
Exactly.
Especially if you've already got a couple of bottles, having that in the arsenal as well, in the drinks cabinet is it's very. It brings a lot to the drinks cabinet, basically. That one time you want to drink a hamster cage, like it's there for you.
Yeah.
Right?
What about you, mate? What are you drinking?
So this evening I've got something that you can't buy in shops. Okay, It's so exclusive. There's only there's only one decanter of it in the entire world.
I see.
So let me explain, dear listener. What I am drinking this evening is I'm having a dram from my Infinity decanter, right? And I think I mentioned this once or twice before, but the way this works is you put in the skag ends of all the different other bottles that you've got that are on their way out. Like you think, oh God, that massive bottle's taking up so much space in my house. And there's only a little bit left. Chuck it in an Infinity decanter. Obviously, it's all got to be Scotch, though. You can't put like rum in there and sangria or like. It's got to be Scotch. Okay.
Jesus.
So all your nub ends of Scotch, basically, you like pour them into a decanter and you create your own blend. Essentially, as sort of trampy as that sounds, like there's a bit of a thing for it on the internet, like in the sort of the whiskey world, as well as all your nice bottles. You create this sort of Infinity decanter, and it's called Infinity because obviously you keep drinking from it, but you never let it die. So there's always going to be a tiny little bit in there from all these bottles that you've finished over the years, and that you've put the last little bit in there, and it just creates this like crazy flavour. And it's a mixture of all the scotches you've ever drunk, basically. Which could be bad, could be good. We're about to find out, right? So I know that this has got. It's the most recent addition was some famous grouse black Label. Was it called Black Label or Famous Grouse Black or something?
Black, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Black Grouse or something.
Black Grouse, that's it, yes. That was the recent top-up. I had a little bit of that, popped that in. So, let's see. So I'm guessing it's going to be a little bit smokier than it was before. Yeah, I can smell the White and Mackay in there for sure. Yeah. From previous.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah, there's a bit of sweetness from some long lost Speyside that was thrown in there. Mate, that's great. That's a really good blend. Yeah, because the smokiness of the Black Grouse has been like slightly subdued by an old bit of Speyside, and the colour is rich from the White and Mackay. The colouring. What else? God, it's just it's like a lightly peated Scotch. One of these, perhaps Highland or Islay malts that's on the more tame end, and that's beautiful. So a mixture of blend and single malt as well. So yeah, I can't tell you exactly what's in it, but hopefully that's given a bit of a window into what's in there.
That's amazing. I think the Black Grouse is probably a good shout, because I think I've heard with these sort of infinity bottles that peated whiskies, especially like strongly smoked ones, can kill it.
Right, okay.
If you put too much in. So like if you have got like a heavily peated whiskey, just be careful when you put that in, like because if you put too much in, apparently it can just completely dominate the entire thing. Whereas something like a Black Grouse, which is peated but not overly so, won't it will add to it rather than sort of detract. So that's amazing. I need to do that. I've got an empty decanter. I don't know why. I keep forgetting. Actually, that's why I just empty the bottle and oh god. Anyway, I'll try and stop doing that.
Well, I mean, it just frees up a bit of space, and then when that space is free, you're like, oh, there's an extra spot there for a new bottle. Yeah, I might just nip to the whiskey shop.
You've got the perfect little corner, that drinks cabinet, like corner unit though. That's like you've literally fully filled it. So as soon as one bottle goes, it looks weird without another one in there. So it looks great when it's all full up. It's great. So you've got to fill it out. You can't leave it.
I am pretty proud of this little drinks corner. Just in my kitchen, what Greg's talking about is this there's like a curved part of the cabinet where it's open. There's just two sections of shelf. I guess some people would put like a candle on there or a little plant or something, but I've just filled it with booze, and that's like the little booze corner.
Yeah.
Just all manner of booze, and like the cocktail shaker and a hip flask and a strainer and some straws on there, but like all these different coloured boozes. Like it looks fantastic, right?
Perfect. Yeah, it looks great, mate. So good. So, all right, let's carry on with the booze theme, and let's move on to our next section, which is going to be a top 5 list. We're trying out a few more lists, so we'll see if this carries on. But and we thought today we would go through, because we've had a lot of questions from people that are wanting to sort of get into whiskey and have been asking us a few questions like what to buy, what to try first, and we thought, if you're really trying to get into whiskey, the best thing to do is to try a lot of different things, because you're not going to like everything. So the worst thing you can do is try one whiskey, hate it, and then never try any other whiskey ever again, because whiskey is so varied in how it tastes, and that would just completely end it. Yeah. So what we want to try and do is give you basically 5 whiskies that are the first 5 whiskies to buy, basically, to fill your drinks cabinet, to give you a varied sort of flavour portfolio, shall we say? Christ.
It's like a stock market portfolio. You've got to have a bit of everything to like balance out the risk.
Exactly. If one of those goes down, you don't want to bring all of your portfolio down with you, so you've got to vary it. All right? You need to get some currency, get some housing, I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, gold, government
bullion,
securities, and then a few risky startup stocks as well, just to spice it up.
I do want to talk to you about stocks later, actually. So maybe remind me if we have a lull. But anyway, okay, cool. So should I start?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so what I think is we're not going to start with a Scotch. We're going to start with an American whiskey. I think sort of bourbon vibe is you want to have it. You want to know whether you like it or not. That's really the thing is. And if you don't like it, that's fine, but it's good to know. Yeah. So having an American whiskey is going to be a essential. So I'm going to go for Woodford Reserve.
Nice.
Any of theirs. They do a really good single malt, actually. it's an American single malt, so it's not a Scotch, but it's made in a similar way to a Scotch. I love that so much. It's my favourite American whiskey I've ever tasted.
Nice,
but they also do a rye, they do a bourbon. I think they're the three main ones they do. It's owned by Jim Beam, so it's basically like the one up from Jim Beam. So Woodford Reserve, and it's not crazy money. You get it in any supermarket. They'll have one of those three. And yeah, I reckon put that in there. The bottle looks sick as well, but it's a really solid American whiskey that's going to give you the sort of bourbon flavours that you'll contrast that. As soon as you have a Scotch next to it, it'll be so different, and you'll see the differences there. Yeah. So yeah, that's the first one.
Nice, big time. Yeah, you've got to have a bourbon for cocktails as well. I know you can make sort of Scotch versions of cocktails, Rob Roy's and such, but if you're making an old fashioned or something like that, gotta have a bourbon or a rye, or something 100%. American. They taste so different, like you're saying. So yeah, good shout. And that Woodford's a banger. I think we've put up some snippets on Insta as well if you want to see how it looks. Yeah. So the second one on the list, we need a peated whiskey. Okay, yes. So we're not going to muck about. We're going to go peated, right? Seriously peated, because obviously there's grades. There's a bit of grey in between. There's lots of different steps, but we're going to go full on peated, right? And the classic one that sprung to mind that you need to have in your cabinet is a Lafroig. Okay, and their standard one is a Lafroig 10, right? Which is their sort of classic single malt. Mm-hmm. It's on the shelves of lots of great bars. And it's going to knock your socks off, but in a good way. You know?
Totally.
You're drinking it. It's very, very different to Woodford Reserve or something American. It's different to a lot of other Scottish whiskies. So if we're going for something peated, and you're drinking peated, Lafroig 10. Yeah,
it's such a good experience. Like if you've never had a smoked whiskey or a peated whiskey, it will completely change the way you think of alcohol. It just blew my mind when I had my first smoked whiskey. It really will change the way you think about it. And yeah, you want to have one so you know what it tastes like. Again, you might not like it, you might love it, but it's good to know.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so we'll go from heavily peated to sort of a slightly peated one. So this is going to be sort of your middle of the road. It's in between a completely no smoke whatsoever and obviously the Lafroig. And with this one, we're going to go for Highland Park. So this is the most northern distillery in Scotland. Very Viking themes on their bottles. Their bottles look great. They've got sort of like Valkyries and dragons written on them. The 12-year-old is a great bottle. It's got that perfect balance for me, for us, between the sort of sweetness of like a Speyside or a Highland. It's got a bit of saltiness to it, and it's got a bit of peat, but nothing is too sort of overbearing. So it's not any extreme of either of those. So it's the perfect balance for us, and it's just a really good one to have to sort of give you that halfway house. So maybe you didn't like the peated version that we've just told you, the Lafroig. This would be the next one to try and sort of tamper that down a little bit. So maybe just give you a little bit of smoke without sort of blowing your head off. Fantastic. Yeah, definitely. It's not for everyone, the peat and the smoke. So yeah, if you've just got something that's light in there, it's a fantastic halfway house. I'm going off piste. I'm going off the list, but I want to go. Oh God! Oh God! Not pre-approved. Not pre-approved. No. Sorry, it is on the list. Go for it. I just think. Can I talk about the blend? Of course you can, because you know a bit more about the other one. Okay, so usually people's first introduction to Scotch is through a blended Scotch, right? Something like a Johnny Bells or Bells or something that's upside down in a pub, and it's got one of those little plastic measurer things that you press your glass up to, and then it fills precisely 25 ml into your little chunky glass, something like that. So listen, it gets a bad rap because they're usually cheaper, they're mass produced, they're usually a bit rougher and a bit grittier, which is part of the charm, right? It's a bit cheaper. It's sort of an every. Don't drink every day, but it's the sort of an everyday drink, right? Yeah. But we've got to have one because they're great. And for that one person that doesn't really like Scotch, you want to give them something that's not going to dig into your really expensive
highly peated
Yes.
drink or whatever. Something like that.
100%.
It's great to have in the cabinet. Our favourite here at the Blokes podcast is White and Mackay.
Yeah.
So if you guys are listening, White Mackay, please chuck us a bottle. Like we'll definitely drink it.
Yeah.